So Paul asks, is San Juan, just being in San Juan, feel like you're still in the U.S.? And I'm here with Rob. We've been here all of like 36 hours, so we're experts.
Yeah, sure. But we've actually gathered a lot of information, I think, over the last 2 days,
Yep.
culturally, and you've gathered personal information, not person-to-person information from expats here.
hmm
Yeah,
So, so I think the answer in short is kinda.
yeah, I think
Definitely yes in some ways, definitely no in others.
sure. I think when you asked me this morning, I said no, and then no, yes. um,
So let's start with the no.
no, okay. Well, let's see. Well, we have two official languages here, as far as I know. We
hmm
have Spanish and English, and on the mainland, we of course have English. That doesn't mean everybody speaks English on the mainland,
No.
and it doesn't mean everybody speaks English here or speaks Spanish here. Um,
Most everybody speaks some Spanish here.
yeah, even the expats, I'm sure, most of them
The
probably.
ones we've met.
Yeah, the ones we met. Yeah, and we're going to meet some more tonight. We'll see what their experiences are and how their language skills have evolved or not evolved. Um,
You've lived in Nicaragua.
Nicaragua,
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua, yeah. I've
How is this like and dislike Nicaragua?
It's definitely a Latino culture.
Mm-hmm.
They speak Spanish, a little bit different Spanish, some different words, different phrases and things, but it's a Latino culture. Architecture is the same. Infrastructure varies across Latin America, but has the feel of Latin American infrastructure, meaning it's not Germany.
Right.
But that doesn't mean on the mainland of the United States all the infrastructure is that great either. There are lots of places where it's terrible.
I've never been in a place in the mainland though where I could just reach up and grab power lines.
Yes. So that is a difference right there, yes. I think I said, hey, look at the power lines the other day, and there's like 50 power lines hooked up, I call them twisted up, to the main power line. So what people have done is they've taken a wire from their fuse box or breaker box in their house, if they have one,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully they do, and they've just twisted it up to the main power line. I call it a twist up, and that means they get their power for free. So I think maybe you said it or I heard it that maybe 20% of the population here doesn't pay for their power.
That wasn't me.
Okay, I must have read it somewhere, or maybe I'm just imagining it. But when I lived in Nicaragua, 30% of the population was doing twist up, so they weren't paying for electricity. So that meant that my electricity was subsidizing them.
Yes.
So I was paying outrageous bills, sometimes up to $300 and $400 a month for my business, because I was making up for the 20 families that didn't pay. So I don't, but I don't know how that works here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there's some areas. Well, last night I learned from a native here that there are different electrical charges based upon where you live. She said that here in the tourist, she called it the tourist zone, where
Mm-hmm.
you and I here are sitting right now, that has the highest electric costs. Where she lives, she said she only pays $4 a month for electricity. She doesn't have an air conditioner, but $4 a month for basic electricity. So what that means is probably what's happening is some parts of the country are subsidizing other parts of the country, just like in Nicaragua. So that's not quite like it is in the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody pays for their electricity. Maybe some people aren't. They figured out a way not to. I don't know. Um, let's see. Even though they're the same, kind of the same basic laws here as in the mainland, and I say basic because local laws vary from
Mm-hmm.
municipality to municipality, and I'm sure the same here.
Louisiana is very different from Vermont.
Yes, yes. Um, but it looks like some of the laws here, the local laws, are not enforced. So far, we've seen almost no police,
Mm-hmm.
no police present. I think we've seen one or two police cars in the last 2 days.
Right.
Haven't. The only time I saw a policeman on the street were two of them were standing in the old San Juan tourist district,
Mm-hmm.
probably to make sure of just to keep the peace and keep the pickpocketing down and that kind of thing. And then I saw some standing outside of a police station itself. Other than that, I've seen no policemen.
The one police officer I saw was in Old San Juan, and he was standing on a street corner, and he had his face buried in his phone, and he wasn't looking at anything around him. He
Yeah.
was totally absorbed in that screen.
Yes, yes. But let's see. I think the biggest the biggest example that you and I saw last night of them not enforcing local laws is that liquor laws are not enforced. So you and I visited a 24-hour convenience store, which we had visited the first morning we were here. We went in there at like 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
There's nobody there, but it was open 24 hours. Well, we went in yesterday evening, early evening, and the place was full. And what we were seeing was half of the floor space of the convenience store is dedicated to a bar and a seating area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go in and it's a bar. You can go up to the bar, order whatever you want. They have hard liquor, they have beer, and sit down and drink it. Or if you want, you walk up to the beer cooler in the convenience store part, and then you grab your beer or whatever, and you walk up to the normal checkout counter, and you pay the guy, and he opens the beer for you, and then you walk over to the sitting area.
Or you walk outside.
Yes.
And you drink out on the sidewalk.
And that's the lack of enforcement of a law, because apparently, as you asked someone, that's not legal, but nobody cares.
Right.
So we watched a bunch of people go outside and just sit on the stoop and talk to their friends. But you know, the thing is, everything just seemed happy. Nobody was getting violent or or anything like that.
It was very happy scene.
Yeah, everybody was being very sociable and happy and sociable. Very nice. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe they don't have problems, so they don't try to.
But the convenience store you're talking about is a pretty big one.
Yes.
Called what's it called? Come and Go or In and Out or
To Go.
To Go.
To Go.
Right. But there are little hole in the wall stores, like a little bodega, but there's a couple, maybe 4 tables out front, and people are buying beer there and just sitting out in front of the store and drinking. And it's just a very drinking on the street oriented scene here.
I don't think I remember seeing anybody like walking down the sidewalk, walking down a street with a drink in their hands.
Right.
But they're definitely like on the sidewalk outside of the bodegas or the convenience stores, which I like that. That's fine with me. I don't mind as long as they're not causing problems. Yeah. Let's see. Definitely, people here seem to be a bit more sociable than people on the mainland. I think over the past, my adult life, our society has become more. We've become more secluded from each other. We've not as sociable as we were when I was a child.
Yeah.
When I was a kid growing up in Vermont, everybody in the neighborhood knew each other. All the kids played together. The adults knew each other, and they would get together on weekends and have barbecues and parties, or just come over on a Wednesday night and sit on the porch and talk. And we don't have that so much in the United States anymore. But as you and I saw yesterday afternoon and early evening, we saw tons of people socializing in front of their houses and their patios, in these convenience stores and places, bars, whatever, restaurants. And I was really nice, because I could really see that people were connecting that maybe didn't necessarily know each other, which I thought was really, really nice. But part of that might just be that's the way it's been. It's more of Latino culture is a bit more of a communal culture than what we have in the United States now. Yeah. We've actually almost actively tried to dissuade communal culture. We want independent consumerist culture, right?
Yep. Isolated.
Yeah.
Boxed in.
Sit in front of your computer, maybe you send somebody an IM or an email, or maybe that's about as close as you're getting nowadays.
So that's the unlike.
Okay.
How is this place like the U.S.? I mean, how does it feel like the U.S.?
Well, we have the same federal laws as in the mainland.
But you can't see the federal laws.
Right, but I'm sure that some of them are enforced. I don't know. Let's see. Basic traffic laws. Everything seems to be basically the same as in the United States.
Yep.
People are driving on the left-hand side of the road. People are using their turn signals to take a right and take a left.
Driving the right side.
I'm sorry, right-hand side. Sorry. The right-hand side of the road. Maybe that's why I've been in so many accidents. So basic traffic rules. People here seem to dress pretty much the same as in the States, because I think they have the same source of clothing that we have in the States.
Right. Well, everything has to come through the States.
Yeah.
Through the mainland.
So Walmart is here, probably Target. I don't know, I didn't see one, but I know there's a giant Walmart supercenter here in San Juan. And I've seen a few boutiques and stuff that are handling the same kind of clothing that we are handling on the mainland. Now, in other parts of Latin America, in Central America, you have people dressing in traditional dress. A lot of people are dressing in European type dress, but Like for men, that can be different. They wear these gaibaras. It's a long button-down shirt that goes down below your belt line, and sometimes decorative around the hem, whatever you call it, the bottom of the shirt. And I don't think I've noticed that here. It might be, but I haven't noticed it in our
Now,
time.
we should say that we haven't been out of San Juan, and we are even in the sort of trendier, more hip neighborhoods in San Juan. So we're
True.
definitely not. We don't have a wide variety of experience to draw upon yet. That will start to change tomorrow.
That will be interesting to go outside of town, out into the countryside. Yeah.
The thing for me that has been the most like the U.S., the thing that was freakishly like the U.S., is seeing U.S. postal trucks.
Yes.
But the thing that, for me, the experience that was most like the U.S. was the big supermarket we went to last night.
Yes, it was. It was very much like the U.S., except the aisles were a little bit more narrow.
Yeah, but if you go to a store in New York City, the aisles are even
Okay.
more narrow than the ones that we were in last night.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it had that big supermarket feel. And then upstairs there was a wine, liquor, and beer store that had a seating area and a very sort of sophisticated-looking social scene going on.
Oh, definitely the upper crust of the neighborhood was there.
Yes.
Eating very expensive food, prosciutto and cheese with their very expensive wines, and yeah, it was a nice scene, but nothing that is my scene. But,
Right.
I'm glad it exists, apparently. Let's see. The same fast foods chains. There's a McDonald's right down the street from here.
Yeah, but you can find McDonald's in any country around the world, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's true. I haven't seen a Taco Bell.
No.
I'm not sure they'd make it here. Most people speak English, as we're finding.
But they start in Spanish.
It's funny, they'll start in Spanish, but if you start in Spanish, they'll start in English. That's what I find. And I speak Spanish, and I've been trying to use it here, and almost every time I try, they let me say what I want to say, and then they come back in English. Pretty much perfect English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Old San Juan. Old San Juan is a theme park. The
Yes.
cruise ships pull up and, tourists spill out and they walk up the beautiful, picturesque, historic streets. I had my first food in Puerto Rico in a restaurant in Old San Juan, and I had mofongo, which I've been hearing a lot about and looking forward to, and it was not all that great. And we haven't had another meal in a restaurant. We went to the supermarket. So I'll be interested to see, what food away from the tourist centers is like.
I'm sure there's some really good mofongo here.
Yeah.
On on the Facebook page for San Juan expats or Puerto Rico expats,
Mm-hmm.
I did see a post. One expat said she finally found the best mofongo in Puerto Rico.
And where was it?
I don't remember the name of the restaurant now. It just,
But was it in San Juan or outside the city?
you know what? I don't remember that either.
No.
I'd have to look. But so it does exist. But maybe because we were in the tourist area, they don't, they're not putting so much effort into it anymore.
Right.
They're never going to see you again, right? I got served some mofongo that basically I couldn't eat because there was so much salt in it that I've never tasted any dish as salty as that.
Yeah.
And so, but they're never going to see me again. They're going to see my review online, and I'm not going to be terribly, vicious about it. But I'm going to say, yeah, watch out.
The help was nice.
Yeah, it was a nice place. Everybody was polite and tried to be helpful. And yeah, one guy tried to give us directions to the bus stop, which took us 3 or 4 people to tell us how to get there.
All of them saying, "What? You don't have Uber?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Why do you want to take a bus?"
Yeah. So that's kind of different. In the States, I think people are generally want to help you get to where you're going.
Mhm.
You ask them, okay, how do I get to this place? They do their best to give you the directions. In Latin America, in my experience, that's not the case. I think I told you, well, yesterday it took us like asking 4 people to finally find the bus stop. And we finally found it. We were so exhausted and worn out from the heat and everything and that we just gave up and called Uber anyway. But when I lived in Nicaragua, it was the same deal. Yeah, you ask somebody how to get to a place, and almost never will you get to that place without one set of directions. One day I tried an experiment. I had a couple of hours free, and so I walked around this small town, and I wanted to get to the car insurance office, and there's only one in this town, and I knew where it was. So I walked up to somebody. I said, "Hey, how do we get to the insurance office?" And they gave me a complicated set of instructions, and I thought, "Okay, that's great, very detailed." No, not even close. So when I got to that destination, I asked another person. To make a long story short, I think I asked between 8 and 10 people, and finally, taking bits and pieces from all of those sets of instructions, I finally got to where I knew I was supposed to go anyway. But it was just a kind of a test to see how that works. So it's the same here. Yeah.
Well, we should wrap it up because it's taken forever to upload these videos. But the one thing that doesn't seem like the U.S. to me is that it's very Latin America in that every house is a fortress. There's no yard. Everything is enclosed within a wall, and bars on all the windows. Everything's gated. And U.S. houses just aren't like that for the most part. We mostly depend on civility to differentiate our space from public space, and people get robbed, but we don't. Not so often that bars and gates and such are the norm like they are here.
True.
Also, it's surprising to see, like, there's high-rise condos all along the beachfront, but just a couple blocks in, there are buildings which are vacant and falling apart, and or some that are half built and looks like they're not going to get finished because they're already disintegrating. So
that was surprising because
Yeah.
2 blocks from the beach, that's pretty valuable real estate in most parts of the world.
Right.
I don't know what's driving that. If there was a demand, tourist demand for that, or a housing demand, you'd think that somebody would make the investment. So I'd be interested to talk to someone about why that's happening here.
All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you.
Yep.